The jury in the Paul Manafort trial just indicated they could be close to a verdict here on day 4 of deliberations after asking the judge this question, quote, "If we cannot come to a consensus for a single count, how can we fill in the verdict sheet?" The judge here, Judge T.S. Ellis, instructed the jurors to give, quote, "deference to each other and to keep deliberating." Justice correspondent Jessica Schneider has been outside this federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia, and so she's with me now. And just reminding everyone, Paul Manafort, he's charged with these 18 counts, tax evasion, bank fraud, hiding foreign bank accounts. If this jury agrees on all but this one count, did the judge today indicate that he would actually accept a partial verdict?
So here's the thing, Brooke. The judge indicated that, yes, he would accept this partial verdict if it came to that, but he did so outside the presence of the jury. He made this comment in the courtroom where the defense attorneys and the prosecutors were present, as well as people within the courtroom. He did not tell the jury that. He did not indicate to the jury that he would potentially accept this partial verdict. Instead, what he did tell the jury was he implored them to go back into the jury room and continue deliberating on this one count, if it was only one count that they were having issues with, or to all 18 counts. He said, go back and really work at this. This is known as an Allen charge in a lot of courtrooms. Here in Virginia, it's known as a Sawyer's charge. So the judge really gave them a lengthy statement. It was 5 minutes in all. And he said, go back in. Specifically, he said, you should not surrender your honest conviction simply to reach a verdict. But then he said, it is your duty to agree upon a verdict if you can do so without violating your individual inclination. So the judge said, look, go back in there, defer to each other, listen to each other, talk this out, and really make another go of it to see if you can reach a decision here. And Brooke, right now about 2:20, those jurors are about 2 hours and 20 minutes into this deliberation that happened after that judge instruction and after what seems like a little bit of a second go round here to see if they can reach any consensus. So it's a watch and wait out here as we've been doing for the past 4 days. Brooke?
I know you have, Jessica. Thank you. We'll come back to you the second you get any more. I've got Ellie and Paul and Caroline with me. And Paul, first, before we even jump into what Jessica was talking about, you have essentially this unwritten rule of however many days a trial goes on equals X days of deliberation.
Yeah, I think sort of the pattern in high-profile cases tends to be 1 day of deliberation for 1 week of trial. Now, in this case, we've had about 10 days of trial, extending a little bit into the 3rd week before it got submitted to the jury. So that would suggest we're at verdict time now, today. And if it extends beyond today, it would start to indicate to me maybe it's going to be a hung jury. But I would think a verdict is in the wind today.
So what's the deal? Because the jury's been, listen, this is incredibly complex. Bless them for going through all of what they're having to go through. But if the jury comes to this judge and says, if we can't all reach consensus on this one count, what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
He'll take a partial verdict. And by the way, there is nothing unusual about this at all, especially in a big indictment with a lot of counts. If the jury comes to a conclusion on 17 out of 18, normally the court will say, all right, I'll take the verdict. And the one count that they haven't agreed on, they're hung on that count. The prosecutor might have the right to retry the defendant on that count if that was a critical, very, very important count. But that's not going to happen here because I've been looking through these counts. And you can sever all of them from each other. For instance, the tax counts have to do with tax returns signed in different years. So maybe they have a problem with 1 year, but they don't have a problem with the indictments on the other 4 years. Some of the bank fraud accounts deal with different banks and different loans. So it could just be one loan that they thought there was inadequate proof on and they can't reach a conclusion, but all of the others they can. So if you have 17 counts where there's a verdict.
Is that the functioning assumption, and that if they're just asking about this one count?
I think if you sort of read the tea leaves in the text, there's more to the question that they asked, which would indicate that they had come to a consensus on the 17 counts. Look, he delivered the Allen charge, which I love. It's so funny. It says, go back and make a decision, but also don't change your mind. So, I mean, it's a little bit of the idea is to conserve judicial resources, prosecutorial resources. Obviously, nobody likes a hung jury, but I agree with Paul. It's not that big of a deal. If it's one count, the government is going to see this as a huge win if they get a conviction on 17 counts.
And this is just further, I guess, emblematic of this judge keeping the train on the tracks, rocket docket, like, let's roll.
Yeah, he's trying to, pressure the jury. He wants verdict on all 18 counts. If you're the prosecutor, you desperately want the judge to just tell him, look, you can hang on that one count. It's fine. Just give us the other 17.
Yeah.
And the fear is they go back in there and they misunderstand somehow and think that if they can't get to consensus on all 18, they have to just throw the whole thing out.
Which
is
the
not
prosecutors
the case.
don't want that at all.
As Paul said, you can absolutely have a partial verdict. And if you're the prosecutor here and you have 17 counts of conviction, even if it's 10 and 7, 10 counts of conviction and 7 of not guilty and 1 they can't decide, you'll take that every day of the week as a prosecutor.
Okay. If Paul's math is correct, today could be the day. You guys don't go too far, all right? Don't go too far.